For lesson 5, working with color, we're going to talk about how to change color, how to create swatches, and how to use text with color. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to InDesign, and I'm going to open up one of the files that I had you download, which is lesson 5. When you open up this file, you're going to notice that it's a flyer for a pet shop. We're going to go through and make those corrections to this template. It's really nice to be able to use templates. You can find them online if you want to find different types of templates that you can just start as a base. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to come up here, and first thing that you're going to see is the missing fonts box. And this missing fonts box, what it's doing is it's telling you that you have fonts, which is all this pink area that's on the screen, that are not on your computer or not in Adobe. Now, you can do this a couple different ways. The first way would be to replace those fonts, and you can click on this replace button, which we'll get into more whenever we're working in further lessons. But with this, you could go in and just change those fonts from the very get-go if you know what fonts you want to use. Now, I don't have the fonts that I want you to use download it for you. So I want you to find these. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip this and we're going to do that changing of the fonts a separate way. Okay, to make this a little easier to start off with, what we're going to do is add in the images. You've been adding in the images in previous lessons, so this is something that shouldn't be new to you. So I'm going to grab my selection tool. I'm going to click on the first box and I'm going to come up to File and Place. Now, one thing I want to show you is when you go into the tutorial 5 files with the pet images, you have a cat, a dog, and a turtle. Now, whenever you're placing images, it gives you these 3 options across the bottom. The kind of default one is the one right here in the middle, replace selected items. Now, you can also have it shown as an import, and you can change your import options if you want to do that. One of the next lessons do go over these options along with the create static captions. So it will go over them in more detail and explain them. As for right now, we only want replace selected item. That way it just puts the picture into the box that we just told it to. So I'm going to start with my cat photo and I'm going to hit open and you'll see the cat comes in here. And just like before, double click inside the image. The complementary colored box will pop up that shows just the image. And I'm going to press shift and click on that corner. And I'm going to drag it up and fit it inside my box. And then I can also move it around inside of that box to get it to fit right. So we'll go ahead and keep going on down and do the rest of them. So click on the box, file in place. We now want to do the dog. Double click on it. Go up to the corner, press and hold shift. And move him down to fit inside that box. Now he's a little bit smaller than the cat, so I'm just going to kind of move him around until they look like they kind of go together. There we go. And then for the last one, we're going to do a turtle. So file in place and find my little turtle. And then size him correctly. Okay, so now we've got the images in there, nice and clean and simple. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on each one of these boxes and we're going to change the stroke around the box so that we actually have a line that goes all the way around the box. So I simply selected the cat box. And right now it's going to have this blue stroke and I want to double check to make sure it's the blue stroke that I want. So I'm going to click on this stroke right here. You can see it is right here. But right here on the appearance panel, I'm also going to make it a little bit bigger so it's a little bit more distinctive. So I'm going to go up to 3. Second box, I'm going to do the same thing. The stroke is the correct blue, so I'm going to take it up to 3 again. And the third box, I'm going to select the third box. There we go. And I'm going to take that stroke up to 3 because it's already blue as well. Then I'm going to click over here in the gray area. Now I can kind of see them and see that there is a box around all of those. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to fix our text. So what we have to do is anywhere that there's pink, that shows that there's an error. And how you know if you have errors or not is on the bottom of your screen right down here, it says 25 errors. And if I click on that, double click on that, it's going to show me errors and it says text, there's 25. So whatever kind of errors you would have, it would read down through here so that you can fix them. It's also really nice because it allows you to be able to open them up even more and I can see what's wrong with them. And I can even open those further and I can see what page it would be on. So for something like this, that's a flyer, that doesn't seem like it would mean a whole lot. But if you're working on something like a 50-page magazine, this comes in really handy because it'll tell you exactly the page where the error is. And if you click on it, you can see it highlights it right there for me. So now I know which one it is. So now I have this one selected. I didn't even have to. If you needed to select it, you could come over to your tool, your text tool, and be able to highlight it just like you would in Word or any other kind of program where you're working with text. You just click and drag over it. So now it's all selected. Now for this, we're going to pick a real simple font that most people have on their computer, which is Arial. And I'm going to start typing it in. And you'll see that it pulls up all of the members of the font family for Arial. What I want to do is choose Arial Narrow right here. Now you'll see the pink went away. It is no longer going to be on my missing fonts over here, so I no longer have a problem with it. I'm going to come down here though, and I'm going to do the same thing through the next set. And I'm going to change it up here to Arial. Now let's say I picked the wrong one by accident. I picked bold and that wasn't the right one. I can always come right here to the box below it and be able to change it back to the narrow. So it does give you all those options, those styles of the font families right here. So I can just change it. And then I'm going to do one more. So I'm going to do the Turtle Shop down here. Arial. And change it to bold. I'm sorry, to change it to narrow. And there they all are. Now I still have some issues. This is Pet Shop. This one's right here. Let's see. I must have missed a character somewhere. We'll see in a minute. Okay, so those will go away as you fix them. The other issue that we have is that these right here actually have overset text. So in your little text box, you'll see these little red squares with plus signs in it, and it means that you have text that run outside of that box. You can do a lot of different things to fix it. You could change the size of your text box if it doesn't matter how big the box is. You can change the size of your font if you want to make sure that it's all in there. In this case, we don't need it. It was just leftover text that I should have deleted in the first place. So I'm going to grab my text tool, click on the right after the S in deals, and I'm just going to go through it and delete it. And I'm going to do that for each one because each one has a little bitty square with a plus sign. And once you do it, you can see now it's gone. So that one. And one more. Okay. Now you can see we're down to one error and it's our pet regular right here. So it says Pet Shop. So what we need to do is we need to fix that. Now, instead of clicking on that one, what I'm going to do is I can clearly see this is pink. So I know it's a problem. So I can come over to my text tool. If I click once, it'll put in a marker for me to be able to start typing. If I double click, it'll select the word that marker is in. And if I double click again, then it'll pick up the entire area before that paragraph sign. Okay. So now I have Pet Shop selected and I want to change out that font. The easiest way would be to come up here to my font families and I can scroll through all my different fonts and choose which kind I want. The problem is, what if you can't find a font in here that you like? You can do a couple different things. The first thing you would be able to do is go to something like dafont.com or 1001 Fonts, and you can download free fonts from those websites. Now, because you are working in Adobe, that means that you have Adobe Creative Cloud font as well. And this comes in super handy because you can find a lot of different types of fonts. And we will talk more about it whenever we get into some of the other font lessons. But to kind of start you off today and show you a little bit more about it, I'm going to shrink this down. And I'm going to go ahead and close it because I already actually had it open. But I'm going to come up here to my Creative Cloud app. So it's on my desktop. I don't know where you might have your saved depending on where you put your license. So hopefully it's on here. If not, you can search it usually down here in your search bar. But you want to find it. In here, you're going to come down to where it says Manage Fonts. Then you'll see that it has active fonts. So that's everything that's on your computer right now, previously active, and then browse more fonts. We want to browse more fonts so that we can see some different things. Okay, it'll pop up in your browser, and once it's all loaded, you'll see that you can choose from a few different things. So you can pick your language, what they call your tags. I also call your characteristics because it's kind of like, do you want something that's a little like more funky? Do you want something that's a little more luxurious? Do you want something that's along the lines of horror? You can also pick something based on, do you want it to be script or handwritten, or do you want it to be more like a serif or a sans serif, which means it has feet to it. And then you have width and height down here that you can make choices with, as well as weight. So what we're going to do is we're going to start right here with brush pen, and I'm just going to click on brush pen. And then we know we want it to say pet shop. So we're going to type in pet shop right here. And you'll notice that all of my font families down here then start picking up that word. And so you can see how it's going to affect your letters. Another thing you need to notice along here is some of these will have one font and some of them will say like 6 fonts. The largest one I've seen on here so far, I think, was 94, but there might be bigger. But what you can see here is that with these, I'll click on one of these and it has multiple versions of that font. So whenever you go to choose a font, you can activate either the one font or you can activate all the fonts. Let me go back. There we go. So what we're going to choose is this Filmotype LaSalle, if you can find it. If not, pick another font. It doesn't really matter. Just trying to get something a little bit more creative than what was already on there. So I'm going to pick this one. Now you can see I've already activated it, but I'm going to deactivate it so I can kind of show you what it looks like. And you can also see a little screen pops up down here saying I deactivated it. So since I only have one, I can activate it here or I can activate it up here. Now, if there's multiple, you can either activate them individually down here, or you can activate the entire family, anywhere from 1 to, like I said, 94. You could activate them all up here. It's up to you. So I'm just going to go ahead and click and activate it. And you can see this little box pop up. If you see this little box, you're good. Sometimes you won't see the little box. Maybe you're not paying attention to the little box. If for some reason it seems like once you go into InDesign or any of your Adobe programs, the font does not load, simply come up here and refresh your browser. And then you may have to activate it again. And then sometimes it's activated, it just takes it a minute or two to actually work. So if that's the case, you're just going to have to be patient, okay? Now, sometimes with fonts, if you go to something like DaFont or 1001 Fonts and you download a font, you do have to like sign out or to close out of the Adobe program you're working on and reopen it sometimes to get the fonts to show. Okay, so now we're back in here and the font that I chose was called Film. So make sure you pay attention to what your font was actually called. And with it selected, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to type in Film. And there it is. And I can click on it. Now for this one, like I said, it only has one, so there's only a regular right here, but I can change the size and I'm going to go up to about 75. And there's my text. So it gives it a little bit of a different feel to it. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to change my text right here where it says supplies and accessories, I want to change the color of it. Before I do that though, before I close this box, you can tell on my pre-flight now that I have no errors anymore because we changed that pet shop. As well as down here, it says no errors. So I can close out of it and all my fonts are fixed. So the next thing I want to do is I want to start working with some color. So right here where it says supplies and accessories, I'm going to end up changing the color of that to red. So I'm going to come over and I'm going to grab my eyedropper because I want to use this specific red. And I want to make sure that my foreground box is selected because we had made changes to our stroke. That box could be in front. So I want to make sure my fill color is now in front. Using the eyedropper, I'm going to come over and I'm going to click on the red. You can see that the red right here is also right here and also right here, and it's my fill. And since I don't have anything selected, it's not filling anything, but I can turn it into a swatch now. So I'm going to come right here and click new swatch. Let me right there. Okay. So I'm going to click that. Now you can see it's a new swatch. Since we are going to be using this for print though, we want to switch it to CMYK. So I'm going to explain to you a little bit about this swatch. So we're going to come right over here to the blue area of the swatch and I'm going to double click it and it's going to open up my swatch options. This is really nice because, you know, you can come in here, you can change the color type, whether it's process or spot, which the book will go more into. You can also change the color mode. Now you can see how the colors broke down right here in RGB. It's 223 in red, 1 in green, and 1 in blue, and that's how it names your color. I want to change it to CMYK though, so I'm simply going to do this drop down and change it to CMYK. Once you have a color, you can change it to some of these others, just to be able to line them up with what you're using them for. But for our purpose in printing, we're going to do CMYK. Now you can see it's broken it down into all the 4 different colors. So my name of the color is going to slightly change because it's going to represent the CMYK. And then I can hit OK. I will warn you that sometimes you will notice a slight color shift depending on if you're working in CMYK or RGB, simply because they're different color mixtures. And so you'll see one color might just look slightly different than the original color you wanted to use. Okay, so now we have a swatch right here that we can use. So I'm going to come over and I'm going to grab my text tool and I'm going to highlight over supplies and accessories. And then I simply click right up here where the T is, or I could do it right here as well, or I can do it right here too. Okay, so you have 3 different options. You can do this drop down and switch it to the red. You can do it in your swatches panel, or you can do it over here in your appearance panel. So now it's changed the color to red. So I'm going to do all of my supplies and accessories the same way so that they're all red. Now I want to change my headers to white because I'm going to put a blue box of color behind all of these. So now I'm going to select the cat and kitten and change it to paper. Now the only problem with doing this, whoops, and I didn't click on it. The only problem with doing this is right now we're on a white background. So it's going to look like the letters went away, but you can see that the little paragraph symbol is still there. So it actually didn't disappear. But when I click on the box itself with my selection tool, I now can fill it with this blue. And you can see the cat and kitten again. And again, I click on the next box down with my selection tool and I can change it to blue. And then again for the last one. Okay. So the last thing I want to do is I want to show you how to work with a gradient. But before we work with this gradient, I want to create a color panel. And with the color panels, these are really nice to kind of help you with ideas sometimes. Because like right now, I know we have red, white, and blue, but how do those colors work together? What other versions of those colors would work well together? So I can come over here and under my eyedropper tool, there is a color theme tool. And I'm going to click on it. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to pick on one of the reds of my letters. Now you'll see it kind of lays out those main colors that we're using in here. We're using red, we're using blue, we're using black, we're using white. Even though green is in our color panel or our swatches panel over here, we didn't use it. It's just showing us the colors we did use. But maybe I want slightly different versions of these colors. So I can use this little drop down. And of course, this time it's not giving me that. Let me see if I can do it with the blue. Okay, so normally it will give me multiple options here, including like a muted option or a bright option and different things. But I guess with the colors I chose, it's not going to work with me right now. So what I'm going to do is come down here to the pillow and try and choose something out of the pillow or out of the turtle. There we go. So I'll choose some colors out of the turtle so you can kind of see how they work. Okay, so I used my eyedropper, the color theme eyedropper. I came down and I clicked on the turtle itself. So you can see he has a lot of different shades in him. So what it's doing is it's taking colors out of this box. So here's some greens and some yellows and some blues, and you can choose these different colors. So maybe I really, really like the dark version of this and I can select it. And right here, I can turn it into a swatch. For this last step, I want to show you how to create a gradient. And what we're going to do is for this box up here, we're going to create a gradient through here. So you're going to select the box and we're going to come over here and we're going to do the color panel over here. Under swatches, we're going to do the little panel and then we're going to do new gradient swatch and you're going to click on that. Now you can name this whatever you want. I'm just going to name it top box so I know where I'm putting it, and I'm going to leave it as linear. Now on the gradient ramp right here, you can automatically set two colors. So I'm going to click on the right one and I can pick from my swatches, or I can from right here, or I can, I can build my own color, or I can do the drop down and change swatches. And I can pick one of the colors I already have. So for my example, I'm just going to go red to blue. So I'm going to select my red and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on the square from on the right end and I'm going to click my blue and you'll see it goes from red to blue. Now, what's nice about this is you can pull this and push it and you can change where these locations are. So if you want it to stay red for a little bit longer or stay blue for a little bit longer, you can drag it in. If you want it to be more of a blue gradient or more of a red gradient, you can drag those to where it shows one way or more the other. Okay. Another thing you can do with this, which is really, really nice, and I'm going to show you real quick, and then we'll go back to the red and the blue, is if I come up here and I do new gradient swatch, and I just cancel, you don't have to cancel out of it. You don't have to do this step. Just leave your box open and just kind of watch this while you're doing it. But I'm going to do a multicolor. So I'm just going to call it multi. And it's the same kind of concept. So I'm going to click over here. But what I'm going to do is that color theme, that dark color theme that I picked earlier, I'm going to go through it. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors in it. So I'm going to select the bottom one, the darkest. And on the right-hand side, I'm going to select the one that's on top, which is the blue. And you can do these in any order. You could change them up if you wanted to, but you can put extra boxes in here. So I'm going to click right here and create a new box. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the swatches, but I'm going to come down here and I'm going to do the second to bottom one. And then I'm going to click again and do the middle one. And then I'm going to click right here. And this one's going to be the white that we had in our theme. So now you can see it's going to go from dark to blue, but it's going to go through all these different colors. And again, you can like move them and switch them, and I'll hit OK. And see, you can see it kind of comes through there. But here's the problem. Maybe I don't like it in the order that it's in. I want it to go from top to bottom, or I want it to have more green and less blue. You can use your gradient tool over here. And what the gradient tool does is you're going to click and drag it. And depending on where you click and drag from is how it's going to change it. So if I click at the top and drag down, it'll go from top to bottom. Or from the bottom and drag up, it'll go from bottom to top. Or you can even do from angle to angle. Or you can do, if I want it more green, I would start over here and then go to here, and it's going to give me more of the green than the blue. Okay, so you can change that however you want to change it. If you want to go back to the blue and red to make your top color, then we'll just create another new gradient. So go here, new gradient, linear, and you can delete these different swatches too, just by clicking on them and kind of dragging them down and off of the page. So let's say on this first one, I want to go back to red, and I want it to go to blue, but I want it the original blue. There we go. And I want it to be about 50-50. I hit OK, and there's the color again. But I really want it to go from blue to red. So I'm going to start at the bottom because my first color is red, and I'm going to go up, and there it goes from blue to red. So it has a little bit more feel to go with the rest of it than those greens. But it's up to you how you do this. I want you to play with it, have fun with it, add some color, make some adjustments. If you want to play with the text a little bit, feel free to do that as well. To see how your project will actually turn out and what would print, you would come right down here to this little bottom box on your toolbar and change it to preview. And now you can see exactly how it's going to print. And I have that top box selected. So there we go. Okay, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email and I will get you the answer for it.